The first is, if it doesn't enter your mind, it can't enter your life. The second is, if you don't lead yourself, you can't really lead others, and you can't lead your vision. And that really is something that I feel like women need to master much more. We place priority on the mastery of genius, which is a really critical requirement within the female leadership framework, but I believe that it always begins with self-mastery and self-governance. The third will be around starting small but being a long hauler. If you're a long hauler, you will not be frustrated by your transformational journey. But if you are a short-termer, everything will feel like it's not working, even though they are working, but you need the power of compounded interest and compounded value to see the reward of the work you're putting in building yourself into a person of significance. The evolution of IMMERSE over the years is very compelling, and it's a personal inspiration even to me. A few of the most impactful areas where I observe our evolution in the way we're able to support the empowerment of women is, number one, how we have grown an original model for delivering transformation. We have used a data-driven, evidence-backed approach to really understanding women and their needs in the way that we ultimately create transformational experiences, coaching, resources, and empowerment. So I would say that our evolution has taken us on the path of a data-driven approach to understanding women, and always thinking about the women we work with as prototypes of the women we could serve who may not currently be in our community. A second part of our evolution would really be around the fact that we are women-led, and we've worked with so many women over the course of the last 10 years, young women. So you would find that within IMMERSE Coaching Company itself, we are always encouraging young women to grow their proficiency, grow their talents, and build their careers with us. And so we don't just pay lip service to women's empowerment. We are homegrown about the approach we take in finding great talent, building great talent, and giving them the platform they need to build their careers and move forward. A third arena of our evolution that has supported our ability to deliver women's empowerment is the crowdsourcing of wisdom. We don't do it alone. We're always partnering, as you would see, even with this particular conference. We're working with our dearly beloved friends, Harvest. We're always crowdsourcing wisdom, crowdsourcing opportunities, crowdsourcing resources, because we believe that a wholesome approach to empowerment is not merely about coaching. It's about community, it's about conscious change making, it's about conferences, it's about opportunities, it's about funding, investments, you see. So we're always crowdsourcing wisdom, crowdsourcing resources, crowdsourcing opportunities for women so that we can create a robust and holistic approach to empowerment. Key actions women can take to accelerate action in the direction of wealth creation. I would share three, and the first is really about fixing our money blueprint. If you are a woman of African descent and if you live on the African continent, I feel like this is a defining arena of growth that you've got to make important investments in. Many African women are not interacting with wealth from an abundance mindset. They're not interacting with the concept of wealth from a possibility mindset. Many of us have possibility blindness when it comes to wealth creation and wealth transfer. So the first arena of action that is critical for us to take is to make the needed investments in the way that we are able to shift our money blueprints, embrace abundance, and believe that in our own time and in our own generation, we're going to be able to build the wealth that really solves the most critical problems in the world. And that leads me on to second thing. I believe that when it comes to wealth creation, the moment you start to create value, you are going to be able to produce wealth that you can then invest in solving critical problems in the world. If you have a desire for wealth that is rooted in just materialism, I think that this is a good time in your life to make the shift to desire prosperity for a strong purpose. If we grow our proficiency and we expand our expertise, we're going to be able to create more value. If we create more value, we're going to be able to grow wealth. And when we grow wealth, we can solve important problems in the world. A third key action that I would recommend for women toward wealth creation is definitely around building our own collectives. And I have seen already that this is going to be a powerful definer of transformation for women in the course of this decade. I'm recommending that we build collectives that have caliber and that we start to build our own power circles, create our own tables and sit on them, invite others to sit on them with us, and let us start to work in these coalitions. My desire is that by the end of this decade, by 2030, we can conveniently raise a $10 million fund, a $100 million fund that is crowdsourced amongst our collectives of young, emerging or established female leaders of African descent across the global economy. So I would encourage that a woman who is passionate about wealth creation this decade should begin to belong to communities like Harvest, like IMMERSE Coaching Company, and start to make more deliberate steps with your saving, your budgeting, your investing, and your value creation within communities. And the moment we start to belong to those collectives and we create our own opportunities, we'll become a force that cannot be stopped. Indeed, there are systemic barriers that stand in the way of women's progress, but I want to begin by saying that there are actually systemic platforms, systemic propellers, and systemic partnerships that are also in the favor of women's success. I know that the narrative is often around gender bias and marginalizations and limitations, and all these things exist in society, but I would also love to say that we've had growing privileges. We've had growing partnerships, we've had growing opportunities, especially in the course of the last 5 to 7 years for women across global and local economies. But however, we still have grounds to cover when it comes to the work that is before us as far as change is concerned, as far as transformation is concerned for women. 3 barriers that I carry great conviction that we can come together and solve for women will be, number 1, the barrier in terms of access to funding. And I know that not everybody needs funding, but I know that there are women who have bootstrapped and put in the work at the basic levels, and they've sort of built their own vision, brands and businesses, and then they come to these spaces where they want to begin to pivot or scale their vision, and they now significantly struggle because they can't access institutional funding. The barriers are getting lower, and the oppositions are not as strong as they used to be, but they still exist. A second arena of systemic barriers that I feel really stand in the way will be cultural limitations and social stereotypes. There are still stereotypes about how high a woman can go and the grounds she can cover, the roles she can play in society beyond motherhood, homemaking, ministry, welfare, support. And I believe that sometimes women who are in the lead in any groundbreaking role have to be more intentional to pick up other women and to become models that create bridges of opportunities for other women. A third systemic barrier that I still believe we have to conquer will be around decision-making roles in corporate Africa, corporate Nigeria, corporate America, decision-making roles within the political structure, especially of developing economies. I know that some initiatives have been ongoing in the course of the last decade, but we still have grounds to cover to be able to place women, even young women, in decision-making opportunities within organizations, institutions, as well as governments in a way that empower them to make critical contributions and for their voices to be heard. The moment we make incremental investments to overcome these barriers, 100%, there will be more success that is created by women, enjoyed by women, and of course that will proliferate our world, impacting also men and children. My vision for women's empowerment in the coming decade will really be around two things. And the first will be more women who can create critical conversion between coaching, empowerment, financial liberation, and action. I would love to see more women actually taking action. Pervest has been in the business of driving financial opportunities for women. IMMERSE Coaching Company has been in the business of driving personal transformation and visionary execution for women. But the question really is, when are we going to take everything that we know and how are we going to make it work for us? I would love to see a new dispensation emerging where women take action with knowledge, action in growing their careers, action in building their businesses, action in establishing their iconic brands, action in leveraging local and international partnerships, action in getting their voice heard. As we begin to take intentional action, converting the resources that we have access to into pragmatic steps, we will see the world change right before our eyes. Women are triggers of transformation and catalysts of change, but we have to be pragmatic with our feet on the ground and hands getting dirty to see the reward that we're seeking. A second critical desire that I carry for women's empowerment in the course of the coming decade would be around a higher degree of globalization. And what I mean with that is I would love to see a greater dimension of dynamism in terms of international partnerships. I want to see the doors of the nation open for Africa to the West and for the West to Africa. I would love to see this transboundary exchange of ideas, of opportunities, of partnerships, of human capital, and of technology across every sphere of human endeavor, across every industry: technology, education, healthcare, gender advocacy, environment, and energy, on and on that way. I would love to see a more global sort of experience for women without the barriers of geography. I would love to see global mobility. I would love to see intertrade. I would love to see transboundary connections. I would love to see intra-African connections and partnerships. Just knowing that where you're born in or where you live in does not have to be a barrier for reaching those that you descend to and for experiencing the world in its multi-dimensional richness. I wish you a very happy International Women's Day 2025, and it's time to accelerate action.